Hey again YouTube, Nutjob with a Machete back with another review for you. Now, as you might be able to tell from the Cold Steel sticker, it is going to be a Cold Steel product. And what it is this is actually now the older version of the Cold Steel Canadian belt knife. Well, what has changed? Basically the sheath. The knife is the exact same, but the newer versions actually come with, in my opinion, a little bit better sheath. Now, let's take a look at this one's sheath and then we'll do the knife. Now, basically, it is a nylon pouch sheath. It actually does give you good retention, so don't be afraid to buy this one. But the newer sheaths lock in place, so a lot of people are liking them a little bit more. It's actually stitched up pretty well, and it's riveted in place. There's very little actual movement of the knife when it's in the sheath, and getting it out is actually pretty easy. Generous belt loop, not huge, but you know, generous enough. But this isn't a review of the sheath. This is a review of the knife. Now, I picked this up for the fiance because she loved the design when she first saw it, and she's loved it ever since. Admittedly, I've probably done a little bit more with it than she has, mostly because I am going to test it for you guys, but she absolutely loves this knife. Now, if I remember correctly, and I'll put the specs and everything below, it is the 4116 German stainless steel. A lot of people will be shying away from that. Oh, well, it's not a very good steel. It's a great steel for this knife's intended purpose. And to me, that is processing game and doing simple stuff out in the bush. Now, if I was going out for like a month or something like that, I would probably have a backup to this. But this knife is fantastic on its own. And honestly, you cannot beat the price point. I think this was $18.99 or something like that. Again, I'll put everything below, including where I got it. Now, the design of the blade. Well, let's take a gander at that. Canadian belt knives are fairly straightforward. They're almost like a leaf design on the blade with a generous belly. And what you'll find is when you're using this thing, it's great for skinning. I don't actually have any footage to show you of skinning, but why don't we go to my test footage. Now, admittedly, I'm deboning a chicken, which I don't think I had done in 20 years, and I've also tested it on some beef, so let's go take a gander at that, and we'll be right back. Canadian belt knife, mostly just draw cuts, processes meat like a dream. Well, I mean, you saw what just simple draws on that meat did. And honestly, of all the knives that, deboning that chicken, all the knives that I tested out on it, which was this, a Buck Packlight Skinner, and the Bird and Trout, which you'll see their reviews in a little bit, I was actually most impressed with this. The handle, while nothing to really, write home about, is very comfortable in the hand. The jimping along the spine allowed for, when I had to go around joints or anything like that. Now, admittedly, I hadn't boned a chicken in something like 20 years, so I'm trying to remember how to do it. But going around the joints or, taking the chicken off the bone, this thing was really, really comfortable and actually handled it the best. I wanted to see how tough it actually could be, what was the best thing it could handle. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't actually have the leather test on video, but it was Well, it was about, what is that? Call it 4mm thick leather, basically sheath leather. And this actually did cut through it. If after a little while of processing the leather, I did notice the blade dulled a little bit, but it's 4116 German stainless steel, so it's a bit of a softer steel. But there is a major upside to it being a softer steel. Sharpening this to a razor edge is not difficult. And in fact, I've just touched it up after doing the last of the testing, and let's see what it's like. Yeah, and that's just touching it up. You can get these. Now there's a few different versions of this. I think the fin bear, the roach belly, which you'll see in the future, and the belt knife, the Canadian belt knife. They're all similar steel, similar overall designs. There are definitely differences between each one, and that's kind of the reasons why people pick, well, for instance, this Canadian belt knife over the roach belly or over the fin bear. Usually they're individual preferences, but they're all basically the same handle material and the same blade material. So, you know, if you didn't like this knife, but you liked one of the other ones in the series, the roach belly or the fin bear, go right ahead, pick one of them up, because they are the same steel and same handle material, and they're actually all pretty damn good. Now this did impress me. I also kind of overcooked a steak, and my steak knives were having fun with it, so I just grabbed this thing and actually used it to eat my steak, and it went through shoe leather steak. So yeah, kind of forgot it was on the barbecue until I had a briquette. Oops. But yeah, the Canadian belt knife, I mean, let's do another little quick close-up. Jimping on the spine, it's not a very thick blade, but that's actually a good thing for this steel. If it was a very thick blade for the steel, you would basically find that, you know, it wouldn't sharpen up quite as well. The handle's really comfortable, and in fact, the sheath's actually pretty good too. I mean, the old sheath, don't be afraid to pick it up if that's what you see, and in fact, if you can get that for even better price, go right ahead. Well, that's about it, guys. I don't really have anything else I can add to, you know, a surprisingly good little knife. Thanks very much for watching this review. If you like videos like this, please feel free to click like, feel free to subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and as always, feel free to share this video as much as you want. Until next time, guys, I'm Nutjob with a Machete. Hell, stay sharp.